But we're moving away from a little wind, a little blow action. We're going to Jorge Karl, as Dave just lovingly called him. Sacramento Kings, we're going to fire George Karl. Then George Karl met with Vivek Ranadive, and they're like, no, we're not going to fire you. We're going to wait. And then...
we're not going to fire you today.
Yeah, we're not going to fire you yet. So just watch out. But you're going to be fine. Don't worry about it. We're going to talk about the coaches that we think are going to be fired by the end of the season. Karl is obviously, front runner in that
Does
department.
this mean he will be because we're the Nostradamus podcast now?
I'd like to believe so.
Well, is he the next one gone because we just brought him up?
I hope so. No, I don't hope so, actually, because I feel like George Karl is still a capable head coach in the NBA. I don't think if he gets fired, I don't think he's going to be brought back to a different NBA team. But I still think he's a capable head coach. I still like George Karl.
He's also an NBA Finals runner-up in '96.
He was. Good job.
He was with the Supersonics.
Yes, he was. He was with the Supersonics. He also coached the Diva and Melo. But
yes.
So we got Karl is on the hot seat. Who else is on the hot seat for NBA coaches?
I'm going to throw it out there, and it may be a shocker to you guys. Fred Hoiberg.
I was going to say
Fred Hoiberg.
I was going to say, are you taking mine?
No, this is one that
mine was Hoiberg.
Was it?
Yeah.
No, mine is not this year. Next year.
I can say you can even fight for this year.
We could see Hoiberg being the D-Fish David Blatt, fired after 2 years, because what I'm seeing, maybe it's because it's my team, what we're seeing with players calling each other out, and it just seems like a dysfunctional mess right now. We were, third in the East? Now we're at 7. Could be at 9. Could be out of the playoffs.
You could see it as just a thing where, the Bulls, don't see anything in Hoiberg, and they see a lot out on the market. Because, obviously I'm not going to bring back Tibbs, but they might see a lot in Hornacek. They might see Hornacek and be like, all right, we wanted to bring in Hoiberg for offense. Hornacek obviously succeeded in Phoenix in his first year at least, and brought this team into a seventh best offense in the league. You got Jimmy Butler, who was a franchise piece. So Hornacek might be a part.
I'm just seeing this team, especially when Taj comes out and starts talking about how, you know what, I've seen us more crushed at we just lost the game, and I've seen us more crushed after wins.
I extremely see that, because this team is just falling apart. Really, they've fallen apart. I know injuries play a key to it, because Paul's been injured, D Rose has been injured, Jimmy just went down.
Actually, D Rose's been healthy. That's the weird thing.
But he's still not 100%. You know what I'm saying?
Who knows what we'll see 100% Jimmy? Or I'm sorry, not
D Rose.
D Rose. Yeah.
Hopefully we see 100% Jimmy, because that was an ugly looking fall, and then he had to be carted off. But it's only 4 weeks. But I still feel Hoiberg is on the on the hot seat, and you could see if they want to bring in someone new.
I give him the start of the next season to see if it's just a weird transition between coaches. But right now, this isn't looking good, and that's why Hoiberg is. If you said coach to look out for, Hoiberg's the one.
Hoiberg may be in the hot seat, but is a problem Garpax. Think about it, because
I think they've always been a problem though.
It's look at how good Thibodeau is in past context. Looking back at it, 2020, but look, he was a good coach. There was nothing.
He was a great coach.
Wrong.
He just pushed his players.
Yeah, and that was the thing. He pushed his players to the limit. He, used them much more than other coaches were comfortable with doing. But at the same time, we got results every single year out of him, and every single year we competed for a championship. So there's the question: is okay? Well, we had that great run with him, and then with an extremely similar cast here, Hoiberg just can't even come close to those results. Is it his fault, or is it the fault that we haven't reloaded this team in the meantime to ensure we can continue competing?
We haven't reloaded to fit his ideal, his system.
Hoiberg was brought in for offense. We've fallen off from last year where we were offensively, and we obviously haven't we weren't where we were for defensively. So I can see that Hoiberg might be the problem, but I also think Reinsdorf is definitely a problem. The owner of the Bulls. He's just
it's been that way for the last couple decades.
Yeah, and he's not going to get rid of Gar. So I don't know. I feel like it's a lot of issues here with Chicago. So I think Hoiberg's out there. I don't think that's kind of a crazy thing. I think Hoiberg's on the hot seat. Obviously, Byron Scott's on the hot seat in LA.
I was going to say the Battle of the Tank Commanders here. Byron Scott, Brett Brown.
The Battle of the Tank Commanders.
How about this? The team that doesn't get the number 1 pick, their coach gets fired.
I think that's fair.
Because they failed in even failing.
That was their job.
They failed in failing.
You were hired to lose games and soak up pick.
But
that's your whole thing.
it's still ping pong ball, so I don't know if you can completely go off of that.
It doesn't matter. They still both coaches suck.
I'm calling it
Byron
right
Scott
now.
has done
Lakers are
nothing
getting the
to
number
do
one
Byron
with
pick.
Scott is awful.
He pretty much ruined. I'm gonna say ruined D'Angelo Russell's first half of a year. Just based off of personal. Like he's like, I don't like him as a person, kind of shit. It's like, you know what? You shouldn't just bench a rookie who's supposed to be the franchise going forward, picking up after Kobe, for an entire fourth quarter. Like, how do you not play your point guard for that? Are you serious?
And Russell really, I mean, he hasn't come out in the media and just been like, oh, this is awful. Like, he's taking it kind of like a professional
and
too.
that's a great thing to see on the other side. But this is the time when you want him out there learning. You want him out there putting his mitts in on a team when it's zero pressure. His job is to go out there, figure out the ball, figure out how to work with guys like Clarkson. These are going to be your teammates going forward. You need to build that relationship up with them, and instead you're sitting on the bench because your coach is an asshole.
Yeah, I mean, and looking at Los Angeles, we obviously brought up Luke Walton before for the Knicks, but he's obviously another choice for
He's an option, yeah.
He's
for
an
the
option
Lakers.
for everybody looking for a coach.
True,
yeah.
But I mean, also he's got. I'm looking at the two main ties. You look at New York, he's got Phil Jackson. You look at the Lakers, that's where he played most of his career on the bench. So I mean,
that's the done.
I think those. Yeah, thank you. I think those two are the obviously two candidates there. If he does go into the head coaching room, which he obviously will, but. I mean, any other teams out there? I mean, Pelicans. Do they fire Alvin Gentry? Because
I think it's. I don't know if it's necessarily him on the. I don't think it's his fault, but they have underperformed.
But is he adding anything as well? And obviously, he's not fantastic. But has he added anything even in his year with the Pelicans and even before that in Phoenix? He's really never been a star coach.
No, he doesn't do a ton to differentiate himself out from any of the other possible coaches out there. So I'm not totally saying he needs to keep this job for any reasons. I'm just saying he hasn't done enough to lose it yet. I think this next year will be the decider. If Anthony Davis stops progressing as a player, if we don't see them learn to use him in a new way or at least expand what he should be doing at this point, I think we have a problem.
I'm going to throw one final name out there. The Bucks suck this year. 22 and 32. Jason Kidd, basically with the same team as last year, even adding Greg Monroe, they've sucked. Does J Kidd get the can? Does J Kidd get the boot in Milwaukee?
I think Jason Kidd's just a bad head coach, period.
Yeah, so do you think he gets the boot? The boot?
Man, there are a lot of head coaches who should get the boot.
There's a lot of head coaches.
You know who I'm surprised still has a job?
Who?
Frank Vogel. No, Frank Vogel. Surprised. I feel like after that, it was the year that Indiana was going to beat LeBron James. Was that the Heat team? When Hibbert had the game
2012, 2013.
Drive to the lane. After that year, I thought that Vogel should have been gone in Indiana, and it's a surprise that he is still around on that team. I mean, I know they're in the playoffs. They're the 6th seed if the playoffs were to start tomorrow.
So that's because Paul George is playing lights out.
But it's one of those things where it's like, how is Frank Vogel still the head coach of this team? How is he still the head coach?
He lost in the conference semifinal. He lost in the conference finals in back-to-back years in 2012 and 2013, and then he fell off this last year. But they also didn't have Paul George the last year. I think it's weirdly enough because we said that there's not a lot of great head coaches out there. I mean, looking even at Cleveland, they don't know if Tyronn Lue is going to be an amazing head coach.
If they fired Tyronn Lue,
I don't think that's going to be it. I don't think that's going to be it.
But that just adds another team that Luke Walton could go to because he has ties to Cleveland because he played there.
Yeah, but I mean,
Luke Walton sweepstakes.
Luke Walton. Who would ever who would ever think Luke Walton's going to be the biggest free agent?
Bill.
No, but think about it. We always made fun of Luke Walton on the bench. Luke Walton's just he's Kobe's bitch. But now he might be the biggest free agent on the market.
My son, the biggest head coach in NBA.
You don't know how a Glockenspiel works?
You broke it, Bill. No, I didn't. It comes apart like that for travel.
If you haven't seen Bill Glockenspiel play with the Glockenspiel on ESPN, it's absolutely fantastic.
It's great.
And that's going to be the wrap up of Nostradamus podcast, the Fast Break podcast episode. Let's see. What was Luke Walton's number in L.A.? Does anyone have that
4.
Number? It was 4?
Cuatro.
That works. Dave's been here for 4 weeks. It's number 4. Welcome to episode number 4 for Fast Break Podcast. Well, goodbye to episode number 4 for the Fast Break Podcast. I'm Sean Anderson. For Ricky Widmer, for Dave Oster, we will see you next week, where we'll most likely be wrapping up the trade deadline, finally putting a cap to these trade deadline talks. Well, maybe we'll talk about the All-Star deadline, but anyways, follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod. I am at Schwarbo. Ricky is at Ricky Widmer, and Dave is at Dave Does Not Tweet.
We're still going to make that Twitter account.
We'll make that Twitter account.
At Dave Does Not Tweet.
If you're on SoundCloud, hit that pretty little heart button. If you're also on SoundCloud, repost us to all your friends, because we're pretty damn great. And then if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe and share this around, because we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers sooner rather than later. But anyways, again, for Sean Anderson, Dave Oster, and Ricky Widmer, this is the Fast Break Podcast, and we'll hear from us next week.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Most Valuable Pod for more great podcasts.